UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Rodrigues, hottest takes of the card. And I'm going to get it started with a, not so hot take that this is a really, really good UFC Fight Night. Every fight on the card, I think except for like one, are good, solid fights inside of the UFC. Like, I am not going to take many bathroom breaks throughout this card. It's a great card. Again, that is not a hot take. We're going to get into it, but guys, ladies and gentlemen, tune in to UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Rodrigues. It's a great card. The first hot take I have for you guys is in the main event. And it's with Gregory Rodrigues, and I legitimately think out of every middleweight on the roster and their chances to go out there and beat Dricus du Plessis, submit him, knock him out, decision, every middleweight on the roster's chance to beat Dricus, I think Gregory Rodrigues has a top 3 chance. I think him, Khamzat Chimaev, and Nasruddin Imavov, all three combined have the best chances to beat Dricus du Plessis out of anyone. And I don't know if anybody's thinking of that, but he does. He really, really does. He has the style to actually beat most of the UFC middleweights, but lose to a lot of them as well. Like, he probably loses to maybe a Caio Borralho. He probably loses to a Robert Whittaker. Maybe an Adesanya, Chimaev. There's matchups in there that he loses, but I actually think he's got a great chance to beat Dricus du Plessis. I really, really do. Khamzat Chimaev, great chance. Imavov, great chance. Other than that, it's just maybe Caio Borralho's in there. But everybody else doesn't really have an amazing shot to go out there and beat Dricus. We've seen Sean and Adesanya and Whittaker already lose to Dricus. Cannonier would not do well against Dricus. Dricus would pressure forward and crack his chin and knock him out. Vittori wouldn't have a good chance. Really, anybody here, 10 to 15, doesn't really have a great chance to beat Dricus du Plessis. But I believe Gregory Rodrigues has a really good shot. He's got a similar brawling type of nature to him in MMA, where he's coming forward and throwing leather. So if Dricus and them are in that close range proximity and just slanging and banging, which is what Dricus wants to do ultimately. He just hasn't had the opponent. Sean's not going to stand and bang. Adesanya's not going to stand and bang. Whittaker's not going to stand and bang. He hasn't had that matchup yet. Now he's got Gregory Rodrigues, who's going to stand there, who's going to bang with you. I don't get me wrong. I'm picking Dricus du Plessis to beat Gregory Rodrigues. But if anybody in this middleweight division, I'm looking at the whole top 15, has a chance to go out there, get inside, make it a little bit of a scrappy war, and possibly land on the chin of Dricus du Plessis in the later rounds, I think it's Gregory. He's got good cardio, good power, good wrestling, good grappling. Not really a kicker. Dricus is a better kicker, but if Gregory gets close inside of that range, eats a few kicks, gets inside, he's got a chance. He's got a chance. So I legitimately think, I don't know, comment down below if you kind of agree with this take, but I think Gregory's got a top 3 chance with the likes of Chimaev and Imavov, style-wise, to go out there and beat Dricus du Plessis. Do I think he wins? No. Do I think he's got a great shot? Yes. I ultimately do. I really, really do. Predictions down below. That's our first hot take of the card. The next one immediately below it, Youssef Zalal, Calvin Kattar. Now, I think I have Youssef Zalal winning. I'm not confident. I think he wins, though. 29-28, close decision win here. But if we're looking at the rest of the featherweight division and it's top 15, Calvin Kattar's at number 10. If we're looking at 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way up in the rankings, I don't think he beats anybody else. I don't know if that's a hot take. That's just a personal take I have for Youssef Zalal. Is like, out of everybody inside of the top 15, Youssef Zalal really only beats like 2 of them. Giga Chikadze, style-wise. Calvin Kattar, style-wise. Maybe Edson Barboza. Other than that, I don't see him beating anybody. So inside of the top 10, he beats Calvin Kattar and he's going to fight one of these guys. He's going to lose. He's going to lose. So this is, in my opinion, this is the end of the win streak of Youssef Zalal. I think he gets in there. He's going to be like, I'm coming for you, Ilia Topuria. I'm coming for that rematch. And then whoever he fights next, he's going to lose. He's going to lose. I don't think he beats anybody else inside of the top 15 or top 10 of the UFC featherweight division. He's got a shot, but style-wise, I don't think so. I need to see improved, better striking before I make that take. And, you know, that top 10 of featherweights is just amazing with striking. Emmett. Arnold Allen's very solid on the feet. Yair. We're not going to talk about Mozart. Diego Lopez, Max Holloway, Volk, Ilya. I mean, these are matchups that got great takedown defense and just going to beat Youssef on the feet. So, I think this is the last win for him, and everybody after that he loses to, legitimately. Again, I don't know if that's a hot take. That's a take I do have. Edmen Shahbazyan, we go again, immediately below that. Edmen Shahbazyan, in the next 2 to 3 years, will be ranked. Edmen Shahbazyan, in the next 2 to 3 years, will be ranked. Not in the next year. Not in the next year and a half. But 2 to 3 years from now, Edmen Shahbazyan is going to be ranked. He's 6-5, not an amazing record inside of the UFC. He started 4-0, got a split decision. Okay, I mean, we're like, is he really that good? Then he gets 3 round 1 knockouts in a row and only loses to former top 5 middleweight, former top 10 middleweight, the number 1 contender. Got a win. Lost to a guy that I believe is top 10 level in Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I don't know if he's actually ranked yet. He's number 12. But he's top 10 level. Knocked out AJ Dobson. Then he lost to Gerald Meerschaert. That's the only guy that's like not really top 15 level that he lost to. And you might be saying, if he's losing to Gerald Meerschaert now, Gerald Meerschaert, who's losing to Andre Petroski, losing to Krzysztof Jotko, how is he ever going to beat anyone inside of the top 15? First off, he was dominating Gerald before he gassed out a little bit, got taken down, got submitted in the later rounds. That's what Gerald does. Round 2, round 3, he's so dangerous with those submissions if he's able to survive. But he's young, man. He's 27 years old, started his UFC career at what, 21? 21 years old. Fought Darren Stewart in his UFC debut. He's 6-5. And he's improving every single fight. Again, he lost to the best of the best of the best. Derek, Jack, Imavov, and Hernandez. And then lost to Gerald as well. Gerald is not a slouch either. A lot of people are saying Gerald's like this bum. He's got a winning record in the UFC. He's got the most submissions in the UFC. All of his wins. Arm triangles, rear nakeds, guillotines, rear nakeds. He's beating some solid guys inside of the UFC. Split decisioning with Kevin Holland. Only losing to the best of the best, like Chimaev, Joe Pyfer, Rainer de Ritter. I mean, some outliers here and there in the UFC middleweight division. But middleweight's not a very, very stacked weight class outside of the top 15. There's a lot of openings there for him to beat guys and eventually get ranked. If he's just going to get better and better, 27 years old is still very, very young, especially at 185 pounds. If he's able to just constantly improve his wrestling, his striking is very, very solid and is like on par with some of these good guys in the middleweight division, like Kopylov, like Pyfer, like Ikram striking. If he's just able to defend the takedowns, get his wrestling and grappling on point in the next 2 to 3 years, I think he gets inside. He's losing to Gerald now, but I think in 1 year's time, in just 1 year's time, he'll be able to beat a Kevin Holland. In 2 years' time, I think his takedowns and wrestling will be able to go out there and beat a Andre Muniz. And then in 2 to 3 years' time, I think he beats a Roman Dolidze. Goes out there and fights a Chris Curtis and is able to keep that on the feet and outstrike Chris Curtis. Have a striking match with Michel Pereira, make it even, barely win a split decision. I think he's going to be ranked in 2 to 3 years. Again, 27 years old is so young for middleweight. He got started in the UFC so early. Got fed to the wolves in Imavov, in Hermanson, in Brunson. All wrestlers, his kryptonite. 2 to 3 years, he'll be in his prime. His wrestling will have improved, his grappling will have improved, and his striking will have improved. And I think Edmen will be ranked. Do I think he's top 10, top 5, title? No. Do I think he'll be ranked? Yeah. I think he will. I think he knocks out Budka this weekend, gets another win, loses again, gets another 2 win, loses again, gets another few wins, and is ranked. Again, it's not going to be an easy. It's going to be a very up and down, bump in the road process, but I think he will have what it takes to be ranked in a few years. Next hot take for this card, Ismael Bonfim. Ismail Bonfim. I got Nazim Sadykhov winning as an underdog right here. 2-1 on the betting odds. Tapologies got it wrong. But Nazim, 5'10", not an amazing reach, but, you know. But Ismail Bonfim, though. Ismail Bonfim is 5'8" in the lightweight division, and I think he's fought at featherweight before. But my take here is he's got to go back. He's fought lightweight for a while, even fought in the welterweight division. When was the last time he fought at featherweight? I really am curious to see. Lightweight, featherweight. Back in 2016, it's been a very, very long time since he was fighting the likes of Renato Moicano on the regional scene in Brazil, since he has fought in the featherweight division. He's 29 years old, he's still young, but he's 5'8". He's 5'8", and that's not a lightweight height. That is not a good lightweight height, in my personal opinion. If we are looking at the top of the top featherweights, they're around this height. We go to Ilya Topuria, he's 5'7". We go to Movsar Evloev, I think he's a little bit taller than that, actually. He's 5'7" as well, never mind. We go to Alexander the Great Volkanovski, he's 5'6". Diego Lopez is a taller guy, I know that for sure, 5'11". Arnold Allen, a taller guy, 5'8". Same height as Ismail Bonfim. Yair Rodrigues, 5'11". Brian T-City Ortega, 5'8". If we're looking at the average of the top guys in the featherweight division, yes, some of them are 5'7". Yes, some of them are 5'7", but we have a lot of 5'8", and we have 5'11" guys in the featherweight division. Very tall, very lengthy dudes down there at 145 pounds. Calvin Kattar fighting this weekend, 5'11". So I personally think if we're looking at the lightweight division where there's plenty of 6-foot guys that are just going to outrange them, and if they have the takedown defense, they're just going to take him or defend the takedowns and outstrike Ismail Bonfim. Whereas featherweight, he's going to be able to get in there a lot easier, fighting these little bit shorter guys, more his height. There's guys that are much taller than him at featherweight, and 5'8" is just, I don't know. I don't think it works for lightweight. I personally think you got to be 5'10" or more for the lightweight division just to not be outsized and lose and get outstruck. I think Ismail Bonfim, my hot take here, again, I don't know if it is or not, is Ismail Bonfim should move down to 145 pounds. Should move down to 145 pounds. All right. Rodolfo Vieira, Andre Petroski. I don't really have a hot take for that one, to be honest with you. Jose Delgado, Connor Matthews. Not really. That's another one I could kind of look at to prove my point. Another 5'11" featherweight in Jose Delgado. He's 5'8" at lightweight. Angela Hill, Ketlin Souza. Not really any hot takes. No hot takes here. Rafael Estevam, Jesus Aguilar. Undefeated Rafael Estevam. I legitimately think is one of, like, I don't want to sound mean here. I think he's one of the worst undefeated fighters in the UFC. Again, I don't want to sound mean. I don't want to sound like I'm bullying Rafael Estevam. There's like 30 or 40 undefeated fighters inside of the UFC. It's been dwindling. That count has been dwindling. Because this year a lot of undefeated fighters are losing. But I legitimately have Estevam in the likes of Hamdi Abdel Wahab and Navajo Sterling, of those lower level UFC flyweights. I legitimately do have him that low. I don't think he'll be ranked eventually. He's 28 years old and it's flyweight, so he's probably going to be ranked. But I mean, looking at every undefeated fighter in the UFC, I think he's bottom 10%. I really think he's bottom 10%. I don't know if that's a hot take. I'm just going to add that onto this video just for blanks and giggles. Last but not least, my last hot take of the card. It's not a hot take. I'm going to say it right now. This is not a hot take. I'm sure everybody and their mom believes what I'm about to say here for the UFC heavyweight division. Walter Walker and Don'Tale Mayes. Okay? Walter Walker and Don'Tale Mayes is ranked. He is ranked number 15 in the heavyweight division. We can go to other weight classes. We got Bo Nickel 15. Michael Venom Page at 15. Grant Dawson, 10-1-1 in the UFC, or 11-1-1. Edson Barboza. We got Montel Jackson on a 4-fight win streak, all by knockout. Joshua Van at 15. Then we got Dante. What are we doing? Dante Mays at 15? The heavyweight, like, I don't know. It is utterly horrible. It is utterly horrible to have Don'Tale Mayes at 15. 33 years old. Losing to guys that aren't in the UFC. Augusto Sakai. Rodrigo Nascimento. Augusto is losing on the regional scene. He won against Don'Tale and then lost outside of the UFC. And Don'Tale's in the top 15. He's ranked. Rodrigo Nascimento just got cut from the UFC. Beat Don'Tale, lost twice in a row, got cut. Don'Tale's ranked now. What are we doing? How are we having this man in the top 15? I didn't even mention this. He's 4-5 in the UFC. 4-5 in the UFC. So my hot take, not really a hot take, heavyweight is the worst weight class. Oh my God. I mean, this card really solidified it for me in having the top 15 guy be a 2-1 underdog against Walter Walker, who is 1-1 in the UFC, lost to Lucas Brzeski, who is 1-5. So he lost to a guy that's 1-5 in the UFC, and he is a 2-1 favorite over a top 15 guy. Make it make sense for me. This weight class is utterly horrible. Utterly horrible. It's worse than women's featherweight was a few years ago. That's what I got. Those are my hot takes. Again, some of them are pretty easy takes to make. They're not really that hot. Some of them you might be like, do I agree with that? Do I not? What do you guys think? Gregory Rodrigues has the best chance to beat Dricus, along with Hamzat Chimaev and Imavov. Youssef Zalal loses every fight after Calvin Kattar. Edmen will be ranked in a few years' time. Ismail Bonfim, go down to featherweight. Go down to featherweight. Estevam, one of the worst undefeated fighters in the UFC. And heavyweight. God, you suck. Thank you guys for watching. You suck, heavyweight.